start record. So it should be recorded. The last meeting should be recorded, Habiba, just for you. So let me share my screen. And today people can just join. So don't be surprised if there are like 5 people now while we are talking, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me just figure this out. And here is our tech. Awesome. Now that's I was just playing. So this is our talk. I will talk about few things. I will just like take 2 minutes, walk people new EIU Act and AWS New York Summit. I will just give that as a homework. 5 minutes. Your introduction, ML and AI journey, Core 42. Just click on the
Yeah.
link. I will keep clicking the link, or people will have at least links to go follow up. Challenging and
Just
shifting.
dice 30B, 30B, okay? Not 30. 30.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I saw that. I checked your like Core 42 profile, and I was like, for 30 we Arabic and all. Great job.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's
30B.
it. Uh, Seems like we are ready. So let's get people in. Hi, thanks, Vivian. Thanks for posting after the session. I think you posted after the session on Mevin, right? So thanks for doing that. That was good to see.
Hey, Rashmi, long time no see.
Shilani,
Hello.
welcome.
Hi.
Yeah. We're just waiting for people. I hope all of you had an awesome break. We didn't do a community session last time. I get to relax and like have a different Saturday. So I played a lot of soccer with my boys. So that's our thing. But I hope all of you got a chance uh, to be and do something else other than just talking to me. But I'm glad we are back, and I have a lot to cover today. So maybe we can get started as soon as Amin joins. So if Amin joins, then we get started. So Amin is our like that starter, the catalyst which turns on this call. Okay, so what are we gonna do today? So today I have few things that are top of my mind. I will share those, and then we have a special session today. We're going to talk about what it takes, where the market is, what is happening in AIPM jobs. We'll also discuss few. We will have a guest today, and I will introduce Rashmi in a while. But let me just get us started and at least warm things up, and then we'll take it from there. Awesome. So now, what's happening? Uh, Top of my mind, I just read like yesterday or day before, EU finally said, here is the EU AI Act. The act is in practice for a while, but finally I read it. And it's exactly like what we have seen in the course. And also we have done few community sessions. Uh, Straightforward, they want to have not a single cut on regulations, but defined risk levels. Unacceptable risk is where you're trying to manipulate people or change their behaviors or monitor a mass population, like social scoring, biometrics. And then high risk is the systems where educational, health, law enforcement, where things are like once they get in that kind of things, it has a lot larger consequences. So that's the second aspect, which is uh, they are saying that's where they don't want a lot of free hand for enterprise to go and start building things. So third is we'll do a deeper session on these, like what it means for product. I'm just saying if you want to read something, go make sure you read these. And then they also talk about what a transparent system means, like, which is disclosing that the content is generated by AI, no illegal content. So make sure you have that in your evaluations. What is illegal content mean? And you're checking for it, because if you release it now, you will be making you have consequences, at least through the act. And you have to put your data, what you use for training, or especially the copyrighted data. So these are all like have larger consequences, as you will see building your products. But now they are putting it in, it is enacted starting, I believe, yesterday in EU. So anybody who's building products in EU and thinking of building with AI, make sure you read these and stay on top of this. Let's say all say hi to Mahesh. Thanks for joining, Mahesh. Achin as well. Garima is back, hopefully having a breakfast, so she won't talk. But I was just getting everybody together on what's happening top of my mind. So that's my homework. I need to put the EU Act and make sure that at least our course material doesn't, I don't miss anything. And we'll take it from there. Another cool thing that happened, and I want you to follow up, is this New York Summit that happened on July 10th. Uh, I worked at AWS, so I know there is a lot of work that goes behind putting this kind of summit together. But I wanted to go through key announcements. So they are integrating their Amazon Q developer, which I think was called Code Whisperer before, but now it's coming to different products. Uh, this is cool. I think somebody should try it and let me know if how cool that is. This should allow you to build AI apps, or apps with drag and drop or ease. And especially for AI apps, you are looking for App Studio. So all these are cool. And then they have this MemoryDB idea, which is the idea of, because rags are going to stay. Rags is retrieval augmented generation. I look at people who join the cohort, so I just say rag and then move on. And I forget, like, oh, this is community. But rag is when you actually put context from your company. So rather than directly talking to the model, you start bringing your database and tell the model that, hey, only look at the our data when you're trying to answer these questions. So that's retrieval augmented generation and called RAG. And we have seen that like in action, that you can actually, what you can do is you can directly talk to the model. The model has learned everything. Let's call it GPT-4 or Gemini. Uh, these are trained on everything in the world, all of Wikipedias and everything, and they can answer questions. But if you're a company, you want to bring your own database or your own documents. Taking an example of a contract app, you want to, if you have a lot of contracts and you want to know, hey, what a contract is expiring when, you want to provide those contracts in some kind of database. And then instead of sending this directly, first you send it to this. So you have your question, and then you retrieve and augment the things that you need from a database that you control and is not public. So this is public, this is private. And then you question plus retrieved and augmented items from here, which is relevant to this question. And then
Mahesh, you need to switch the screen so that we can see you in the whiteboard.
perfect. Thanks. Changed my life, Shilan. Thanks a lot. So I do that more often than I need to. But yeah, that's RAG. So this is the system of RAG. And I will keep drawing this diagram unless everybody in the community can draw this diagram on a whim. But that's RAG. And this is the idea around MemoryDB. So what they're trying to say is that, hey, now we have our own. They have integration with Pinecone, which is a third-party database which provides you, or a vector database to be precise. I won't go into what is a vector database today. It's basically a way to store embeddings that allows you to do search faster, better, and a way for you to actually implement an AI first retrieval augmented system. Pinecone was one of the first startups or the companies to invest in that 10 years ago. And they saw a lot of traction when last year RAG became the go-to design or system design model. And so this MemoryDB is basically, they are saying now we have our own, and they GA'd it, I believe. So that's that. Agents for Bedrock, no point guessing on this. This is building agents. So you can build your agents, or they provide you tools where you can take any Claude models on the right hand side, but actually build orchestration or get a job done, connect your APIs as tools, and also your databases. And based on that, you can define its characteristics and then delegate jobs. And it takes action on its own. It's create a plan and then go through that plan as it moves on. So this is a tooling system that you get. And Achint, just for you, they also release guardrails for Amazon Bedrock. I am trying to get to the PM of that and see if he can show up maybe next to next week. If he shows up, we will do a detailed session on guardrails. And then you have this Q developer SageMaker Studio. SageMaker is AWS way of doing machine learning ops. So these are two, I think, definitely, please read these, learn more. If you have questions, please post them on the community Slack channel or our course community channel, and we'll take it from there. So that's all top of mind for me today. Uh, now, today we have a special session around AI PM jobs and like how the market looks, and also especially what you need to be successful on the job. So getting a job is one part of this of the journey, but when you climb one hill, there is another one. So I think one thing that I have seen is it was really bad for every other job in the PM for last year or so, but finally, uh, most recruiters starting reaching out. I thought every company just let go all their recruiters. Nobody was reaching out in like first quarter of 2023 or second quarter of 2023, and I'm seeing more and more traction like now, not to the level that I had in like 2021 or 2022, but kind of what I had in, I would say, December or Q4 of 2022. So I think things will get better. And even if AI has always been a little stable in this AI jobs space, not to the crazy exciting, but I think there was always only people who were allowed to hire. I know, like the companies that I have worked for, uh, the only people who were able to open jobs outside the company was AI jobs. So that's a mandate. And there's a lot of restructuring going inside the companies. I talked to a lot of other friends. What's happening is people are deprioritizing other products which are not AI first. So they have a lot of like churn, because if you are not in AI and you are in a large company, then these teams, non-AI teams, are going, or
Sorry,
non-AI.
whiteboard. We need to see the whiteboard.
Thank you. There is some, we have to create one AI for Zoom, which automatically says, go switch here. Uh, non-AI, the non-AI projects are getting cancelled in favor of creation of AI. Why? Because this requires a lot of investment in hiring people. Also, the infrastructure. You have seen NVIDIA stock, and you have seen what the cloud providers are investing. Getting these clusters is another expense. So first, these people are paid. Uh, these are expensive affairs. To fund them, they have to cut these normal ones. So lot of people are here who is trying to get here. That's one team of people, and then all the new people who are already looking to change are also trying to get to these jobs. Most of the companies in Q1 of 2024 have the budget to fund these projects, and now we have seen the first wave of that, and I'm seeing the second wave. And I think next year budgets should have at least not 3 to 4x more jobs or more funding to go, because finally that discussion is gone where people were discussing, hey, is there a return on investment in Gen AI? Now people are saying, yes, we have return on investment. We don't know how much, but let's make sure that we are going to stay ahead in this curve and innovate. And at least the product portfolio we have will have an AI component to it. So that's that. Second is it's a little more stable this time around, that people are not worried about what it is, what OpenAI will do and all. People know what the capability are. People have a way to securely or systematically or quickly bring these things to production. Because what happened in first half of 2023 is just there was so much a developer need to do. Figure out RAG by himself or herself, figure out how to put security around these apps, figure out how to do evaluation. There was nothing to do auto evaluations. There was no way. LangChain was a thing, but LangChain had its own problems of security and bugs. But now cloud providers have created these all the tools and how to host these models securely. There is healthy competition also, like there's Gemini, there's Claude family, there's OpenAI. So people are not saying that it's just one company going after these things, and if this doesn't work out, nobody's putting their eggs in this basket. Now everybody has their own horse in this race, and that just makes market or people who are making choices on their products a lot comfortable. So that was, I think, H2 2023. And H1 2024, I am already seeing a lot of like shipment happen, like customer impact. uh, I can't say like what I have done, but there's lot of apps that we have seen already in market. Like you have seen Zoom, which was not a traditional like investing in AI, have pivoted, and now it's almost an AI company. And same is Facebook. Like you have seen, like they have changed their policies and said Meta AI on top of everything. And now they are saying they will use your data to train their models too. So, net takeaway is that there's a lot things that are going on, and one challenge is that you get to have these jobs. I think people who have done the cohort have gone through a lot on that side. But second is, hey, how to be successful in these and what to learn. And on that, I want to introduce Rashmi. Rashmi is a friend and have part of our cohorts before, and we grow together. We talk. I talk to Rashmi here and there, almost like monthly on syncs. She's part of our community. You have seen her ask all the questions and also answer some of your questions. So today I thought it would be great if Rashmi joins this session. And instead of me boring you with all the stats, details, or RAG, we can actually have a real conversation. So on that note, I want to invite Rashmi, and she is going to do her introduction. I've introduced
So
Rashmi as somebody who is really bright, learned very fast, applied a lot of things, and continued to iterate. So, on that note, it's all yours, Rashmi. Go ahead.
thank you. That was a very humbling introduction. Hi, folks. My name is Rashmi. I am joining all the way from Dubai. So it's like 8:15 p.m. here. And it's really nice to meet each one of you, meet each one of you. So let me give, I think I can start with a bit of background about myself. So I've been a product manager for a while. Um, like I started my career in robotics, but then definitely I was in the startup phase and I really wanted to know how these apps were built, everything. So finally, I landed up a job in a software company, which apparently was then AI also. This is back in 2016, 17. Okay, and that's where I started my career to become a product manager. But still, that time it was NLP, and I still never used to understand how to stitch this whole thing into a sprint or something. Since I was a junior PM, it was okay going with the flow and all. But then, this whole trend with Marty Keegan, everything caught up, and I wanted to be in B2C, really get into the customer facing products. So then I was with Aster DM Healthcare. Aster is a huge hospital chain here. Okay, and they had a super app, and I was one of the product managers for their teleconsultations and booking module. Okay, so there I was able to get a hold of the end-to-end product management, but there was still one question on my mind. AI field is catching up, but being a product manager in AI is not that easy. Okay. And then, as time passed by, again, AI PM roles started appearing in UAE. And then I decided to interview with Core 42, which is my current company. So I'm an AI product manager at Core 42. And during that journey only, I came across Mahesh's content, which kind of helped me gain a lot of, I was in between my interview journey when I discovered him. And it kind of really helped me gain a lot of confidence that, okay, I'm not alone in this journey, or whatever I felt was valid, kind of a thing. So I'll come back to that. That's where the whole thing happened. And now I've been couple of months with my new company, which is a core AI company. Core 42, we have a LLM, native LLM, which is in Arabic called JAIS 30B. You can find it in Hugging Faces. Okay, and I'm particularly focused on building products on top of LLMs for some of the enterprise use cases we are focusing on in this region. So that's what I do. And now coming back to the whole journey, I think something which I have to really highlight is, if I may take another 2 minutes to highlight that, is that during my transition into this role, right, or when I was in my interview process or something, what made the biggest difference, I feel, is that before that, when I used to read about AI, I used to work with data science, right? But still, I was not able to connect the dots because you had ML, you had deep learning, things like that, and then you have product on the other side. But what made the difference here was, the course when I was actually doing it with Mahesh, right? He was able to tie each concepts, deep dive into the technical, as well as tie into our product lifecycle. So that kind of made the difference for me specifically. And that kind of helped me have that confidence, at least to attend my technical interview and the last round. So that's where my short journey is about.
Thanks, Rashmi. That's awesome. And you know what? I also I started in 2022, teaching outside. Before that, I was teaching inside, right? I had a course inside Facebook, and I had something that I was teaching at Microsoft too. But I always did inside things, and we did very topic specific because our audience was only people at Microsoft and hopefully people working in ML and AI. So my course is, well, let's build a recommendation system. What is a recommendation system and all, but never did end to end. But when I did this course with I think you were early cohorts 2022 or early 2023, but myself I learned a lot. I was like, okay, feature engineering. So we had this idea in the course, right, that we divide the journey into okay, data processing, feature engineering, and then we had this model building, and then you have this idea of evaluating the model. And then we said, oh, neural network actually automated model building, deep learning automated feature engineering, and now the LLMs have taken on the data part too. So now you all this package is one thing and you can just prompt and get. But if you don't have LLMs, you need to bring the data and train the models. If you don't have deep learning, then you have to do the feature engineering. And if you take the neural networks away, then you're writing all the math functions and building the models. So that was something for me okay, great. But I wanted to talk a little bit about by the way, this is how the format is today. I'm going to ask Rashmi some questions, and we'll do that for 10-15 minutes. And after that, all of you will be able to ask questions. We kept this format because we wanted to do not anymore slides or something, because that becomes little monotonous. And if you want slides, Rashmi will be happy to send you a deck and a video after the call. But I thought it would be cool if we just ask Rashmi. So, Rashmi, a couple of questions I have. One is, just talk a little bit more about Core 42. I know that, let me just share my screen for a second and bring all of you along, because I did my research, but I found some good stuff there. So I think the companies, like any typical companies or great companies which are trying to bring AI to market, they offer services on AI and also provide secure and all. But the cool part was that they have this Core 52 Hugging Face repo, and they have built their own models, which is not easy. And that's why Rashmi was super interesting for me when I was saying who should come and talk to us. And then I reached out to Rashmi because there are not many companies which are actually training their own models and publishing them. There are many companies which are taking the models and building on top of them. But Rashmi was interesting because I wanted to start from our stack, right? People who are building AGI, people who are building tools for AGI, and people actually building apps. Rashmi was cutting across these. So she's building a model, but she's also figuring out how can we leverage these models. So first, I wanted to just bring everybody along. They have released a 13 billion parameter model for chat. Here is a link. Feel free to see, and if it doesn't work, ping Rashmi. No, no, don't ping Rashmi. Rashmi may not be even close. But at least you can try, and you know the person. So please go ahead and do
You
that.
want to learn about machine learning no? Yeah, do you use it as a part of I use machine learning.
Yeah, I think you can go on mute. Nigam. Yeah, thanks. So, 13, Rashmi, just wanted to talk more about, like, if you can double click on this
Yeah.
idea, like, what is the need of building a model, and how the challenges here are, like, once you start getting in this journey, it's not a trivial journey. So, how the company is thinking about expenses, because we have spoken many times. And if Parinita is on call, she will say, Mahesh, you told me that you should not train your models, it's so expensive. But here is Rashmi. So answer the question of how you how are you getting funded.
So, firstly, yeah, so this model, of course, they started building this even before I joined. Okay, I'm just a small part of this whole picture. Okay, especially with JICE. And the whole vision of the organization is that in this part of the world, right, Arabic, if you see, there's no much content in Arabic, right, over the internet. There's nothing much. And, the whole purpose or the vision of the organization was have a Arabic first LLM. Okay, right now we are at 30 billion parameters. They are soon in process of releasing new ones. Definitely the journey is very tough because finding the right data set even to train the model was a journey for them. They have invested a lot into it. This was trained on Cerebras because the organization had a partnership with Cerebras. Okay, and this is happening. And recently,
Cerebras is a AI chip company that builds a chip which is go from, instead of cutting the chip and creating GPUs, they go on a
correct,
wafer technology, use a complete big wafer, so that you can train a large model without going to multiple clusters. It
and
accelerates
cutting
the
it. Yes,
and it accelerates the interconnect speed. So if you connect two machines, you have to have a fast interconnect. But if you keep a same wafer or the same silicon, then you get like the speed of light, which is the fastest way you can do. So instead of cutting these, that's what Cerebras IP is. Cerebras is around almost for 5 years. I talked to them
correct,
when I was talking to Facebook. They would look for people who are into training, low and not about low know a lot about training, because that's their audience. They have pivoted to inference after LLM joined. But I just wanted to take this segue and talk about Cerebras a little bit. But Rashmi, back to you. Yes, so they are
correct.
going in Cerebras. That's great, right? I checked, that was one of the partners on your website, and that was super cool. And
Correct.
actually, Cerebras has real
Yes,
applications also. That's cool.
yes. So so Mahesh is right. So that was something astonishing for me also when I heard about Cerebras. The first time I heard about Cerebras is interestingly is in Mahesh's course. So he has something about Cerebras. But yeah, they had a detailed walkthrough on how this wafer is, how it is making training easier. So yes, that's why we were able to achieve 13 billion to 30 billion to further billions as it's coming faster in a couple of months' time. And so, yes, the cost is high. The data is very rare, and we are doing our own things to get that. But the whole vision is because, in Arabic has different dialects, right? And that particular dialects need to be preserved, things like that. So the vision is around all that. And it's being funded definitely by different stakeholders who have very high social interest. So it's more for uh, preserving the language. The organization decided to actually fund this whole project of LLM. And now I'm in a phase, or my business unit. So I belong to the AI business unit within Core 42. The business unit is very focused on building different cognitive layers, different agentic layers on top of different LLMs, not just JICE. We do use JICE to actually serve enterprise use cases. So that's the phase we are in right now.
Wow. So basically, there's a unit in the company which builds these models, to the hard part, which is like training them, making sure they're accurate, making sure they make the metrics of Arabic language along with English. And then there is a unit which basically says, "Hey, we are building tools which allows us to build real apps across languages and hopefully Arabic as well, and bring them to real market for real use cases and make money."
Yes.
Not just by inferencing the model, but by selling it as a SaaS or a software as a service offering.
Correct. Yes.
Great.
So
Uh, So I think a lot of people, first of all, people in cohort, this is week two, chips, competitive analysis of chips, who are the disruptors of NVIDIA in chip market. Cerebras was listed one of them. So that's the content Rashmi is talking about. If you're wondering, I didn't read it because most of you skip it unless you get into a job and then you say, oh, this, Mahesh never talked about it. And then you go in the course and search and then you find it. So these are like small things, but glad that was there. But coming back, Rashmi, one more question, and then I will open up for others. Or two more questions I have. So one is like, what was your challenges? Because this is like, at least you were very early, especially like in a new market, and a lot of people in the teams are very early too. Like you're dealing with engineering, which is also learning along. That's one challenge I have seen consistently. And like I worked at most of the FANG companies, there also like we have seen that challenge, that these are really great software engineers, and but they are building their first ML and AI product. So that's one. But I wanted to hear from you, like what were your challenges or learnings in that journey? Maybe one or two.
So I'm quite early in the journey, but yeah, a couple of challenges I can tell you. One is definitely kind of deciding my success metrics, especially when I'm using RAG and all, right? That's very interesting because, okay, it's very easy theoretically, but, in practice, what does this mean is another thing. Okay, and how without bias are you going to rate the models? And there is definitely a certain level of automations or things you can do on top of it. But that is still something I am learning. That is a journey for me. Second is benchmarking. Every time I have a new hypothesis, or the team has, it's not me, the team has a new hypothesis. Okay. Them actually implementing and then benchmarking against the older RAG and different versions is another challenge. So it's definitely a lot of human intensive analysis involved steps, which I never thought it would be. Okay. That's my first learning curve in the whole thing. Okay. My second major challenge, I think, is around, just kind of coming to agreement with the fact that, okay, you can have sprints, you can have different things, but there will be items which cannot fit into a sprint. Okay, like for example, when I tell, okay, I need this kind of answers, I needed to compare these many documents, things like that, right? Definitely there is a limit for RAG, so they will have to kind of try different chunkings, different embeddings they will have to try and all. And this takes a lot of time. So, in one sprint, I don't know what's the result I will be getting. So that's kind of between me and my team. It's like an understanding as we work along. We kind of understand, okay, how much time it will take or when or what we might face and all. So it's a lot of experience which can driven. Uh, it is a lot of things driven by experience. Okay, so these are my first two challenges. Another roadblocker which I never thought I would come across was security, because the moment I open use cases for enterprises, they're like, okay, can we get a data flow diagram? Can we get a L3 data flow diagram? Level 3, okay, where is it staying? Is it getting cached? Will the LLM utilize? So many questions around that, which is another challenge or another interesting one. Because once it's a organizational data and you're telling there's a product which can use proprietary information, right? You will have to, of course, as a product manager, kind of work with your team to prove that. And the fourth one is the cost, because how much for this use case, even if I use LLM or AI, because that's my company, but how much is the customer willing to pay? The tokens they will consume for this use case through a Gen AI might be a bit more than them actually employing somebody over it, right? So that's another challenge we might face. And then you will have to at least understand what is the customer profile you want to aim at, what kind of problem do you want to solve. So kind of understanding the value versus the customer's investment is something, it's a new journey kind of a thing. So these are the four challenges I started facing early in my journey itself.
No, these are like resonate with me a lot also, especially the security one, right? uh, and I worked in the tooling companies, so a little bit easier but not at all easier, because when I joined this, like at my last company, the challenge was like half of my time was just talking to TAMs or our marketing folks, and they will just say, "Hey, here's a customer. Here's their form. Please fill this form." And the form will ask all these questions like, "Hey, where is the data staying? Where is the L3 diagram? What service this? What is the policy of storing and training? If we do training, how can I get that cluster?" All that. And then it's good to see this, right? I will put this link or like quickly share my screen. I was going through like FAQs when you were talking. So these are the FAQs of Bedrock, Amazon Bedrock. So you can see that. And similarly for Vertex, these are one liners. But if you look at this, they are like, then you have double click on these. Okay, which out of these SOCs? Okay, you have this one. Okay, you don't store the data. You did the encryption. Okay, great. But do you have a specific reason where I can have my own cloud and nobody enters that cloud? Yes, we do that. Okay, how is that compliant? Okay, what happens if this cluster goes down or the whole system goes down? What happens to my data then? And I was just answering these questions like 30 to 40% time. Then we figured out a way to scale it. But this is like a very common practice that Rashmi just talked about. It just brought those memories back, that you join these companies thinking like you're gonna just build this awesome AI, world, but then you are saying, where is the L3 diagram of my data? So that's super cool. One thing that last thing I wanted to talk about is my question, and then we'll open. I know there are some questions Shilan is gathering. I know if this is a little sensitive topic. By the way, Rashmi and me don't represent our company's view here. We are here for the community, and all we are talking about our own views. Neither Core 42 nor Microsoft, AWS, or Google has funded or is responsible for anything we say here. It's completely our own views, and we just represent ourselves in this community. I should have said it earlier, but I think we said it now. So that's one. How about like what you learned in the journey of finding the job, Rashmi? Was it like resonating with what we learned, or something new that came up, or you just got lucky in the first one? Because I know like most of the people that uh, maybe listening, or some of them which are listening, are also in that phase or part of the funnel where they're trying to see what works to get in. Like maybe one or two tips there, what worked for you, or maybe one thing that please don't do this.
So I think firstly, if okay, firstly, what worked for me, definitely going through the course material, it was beneficial. And when I did say that I started my interview journey a bit before the course, right? So what I was actually doing is going to YouTube, just kind of going through all these terminologies, everything, kind of trying to refresh whatever I have heard. Is that right and all? And of course, when I actually came into the cohort and actually started going through the material, definitely it's in a much more structured way. Okay. So it will put everything into the right place. During the interview, I think one of the major questions, of course, I'm in the UAE region. Okay. So here at that phase, this particular company I was interviewing with, or what they were looking for is if we understand what it takes to kind of take an LLM to the market. So around the go to market, around the pricing, because that's where it becomes very tricky. Okay. So those are the questions I came across. There were other technical questions and all, but to be honest, the field is very evolving. Look, all this information is there around us, right? So, I think people are very forgiving and it's more of a discussion kind of a thing. They, at least in my case, okay, just if for a product manager, what is expected is an understanding of the whole thing, what is happening, everything. That's the bare minimum they're looking for. And of course, if you know more, that's a bonus, but that's all they're looking for. And if you can actually prove during your interview that you can connect with this, I think then the job is yours, because the industry is quite new, right? So it's not like there are so many product managers who are like enriched in AI, things like that, right? So they are just looking for people who are very good at their product skills and who kind of understand this technology and certain tweaks around taking this to the market. That's good enough, and you can be very confident to go there and just go through the interview. That will work. That's at least my experience.
That's what I love about this session, that we are like ourselves and not lump sum slide what we can become. Because by the way, none of these questions were prepared. I just called Rashmi like I think an hour ago and said, "Hey, let's just go with it. We will go natural because that's what." But let me just spend like maybe 5 minutes before we open up and sum it up, like what we discussed and how it helps, or where should you spend time based on Rashmi's input. And we spoke about it earlier also. So in US, right, what's happening is that yes, there are a lot of jobs on AIPM. If you look at outside the jobs, I would say 60 to 70% are looking for AI skills. At least I'm looking for like medium and large companies. Okay, if that's true, then what are they looking for? As Rashmi mentioned, I will just put it in a board so that it remains in your mind, and I will give you like where you should spend your time also. So few table stakes are everything that you learn in product sense execution, right? So this is, I expect that is not changing, still holds true, and you need to build it. After that, I think there is a huge expectation on your technical acumen. They're not expecting you to write code, but they will throw terms like fine tuning, RAG, LoRa just in their talks, or say distilled or something like which you have no clue. If you can't get that, you're going to lose the technical interview. So this is product sense execution, and then you will be asked to talk to somebody, an engineering manager, a researcher, or a new guy who just learned RAG also, like you. So that's that. And after that, they are looking for specific projects, because right now, like if you talk to me like 2 years ago, these were not needed. We were hiring people with these skills, and we said it will take us 3 months to train them. for AI. And that was okay, right? And then they became these AI PMs. And the companies were ready to go and do that work for them. That's not happening anymore. They're not spending these 3 months, and they're looking here to say, hey, do you have the technical skills? And have you done projects in the areas that we are hiring for? Like even that specific, because generally they have like 10 to 20 people who are all good fit, who knows this and this too. Like they know technical AI stuff and they have product sense and execution. Then the next cut is, hey, have you done projects which are relevant to what we are working on? So in case of Rashmi, they are looking for if you have shipped an AI project. If you actually took a model and shipped it, can you talk about security? Can you talk about the data? Can you talk about the flows? And then on top of this is, how are you combining this and this, and building a ecosystem understanding of where the world is, who the players are. So that's why I think this community is very important. That's why I was pointing you to AWS earlier, like the EU guidelines and all. You need to stay on top of these, right? They might ask you like, oh, imagine like we are doing everything, we have funding and everything. Should we just launch? By the way, we are launching in EU. It's a healthcare app. What consideration will you make? And at that time, if you can't talk about EU Act and if you don't know about it, then you will be less placed than these five more people who are competing. These ecosystem questions comes as, hey, can you write the strategy for our company for next 6 months? Hey, can you tell me what should OpenAI do next? Hey, can you tell me what should we do as a company next? So that's that. Projects is they will pick something in your CV, they will ask you those things. These are the things where they will just ask you to design a system design or ask you for something like, hey, imagine you're building this app, can you just tell me how, or block diagram of that? And then obviously execution and all. So how should you prepare? I would put 30% of my time in ecosystem, 30% of my time doing actually real projects, and 40% of my time just building my technical acronym, right? So this is how I would spend my time. If I'm new, if I have the strength, then so this is the first phase. Once you have done during the cohort or just after the cohort, spend your time like this. I hope after the cohort you should spend 20% here, 50% here, and 30% here. So this is before and after. So just that's my recommendation. Obviously, everybody will have their own path or their own journey. So that's a very practical me and Rashmi together to say what it takes, where we are on AI PM roles. Shilan should be able to ask us questions on behalf of people who have submitted questions, or feel free to raise your hand. We'll take one question from Shilan and one question from all of you.
Actually, two things. One is on your chart. That's good. It was a great breakdown on what the interview process involved. But I would just add on the first stage is the pitch, how you pitch yourself in terms of what's your domain expertise and the AI expertise you get in. And it is a super important step not to be overlooked, because if you don't do a good pitch in that 3 minutes, then you're out. Like you can't go through the process. And so a second thing is some of you like reach out to me and prefer to ask questions privately from Rashmi. So you can use me as your chat box and just like privately drop your questions to me. I won't mention your name and we'll just relay the message to Mahesh and Rashmi. Okay.
Perfect. One question that Mahesh is asking on the chat is, Mahesh, this is another Mahesh who's like much better than me for sure. But he's just asking like, Rashmi, have you shipped anything? Like, is there a revenue generating idea that your company is working on? Or if you have shipped something, and if it is okay for you to talk about it, what is it? And how the company is thinking about productionizing the models or making revenue on top of them? Any idea or use case that you can talk about?
So definitely, I wouldn't be able to tell the exact product names or something because it's still in the pipeline, though some of the use cases are out in the news and all. So there are two examples I would take that One is we have a layer on top of the LLMs, which the company has made to, because, of course, Core 42 is not just the AI. I'm also talking about the other part. They have a cloud. They are a cloud as well as infrastructure provider. It's kind of a big company. So over there, all these LLMs, they have actually brought them to the sovereign cloud within the region, and they have an application called Corpus, and they have been using that to provide to all the enterprises there access to LLM and all. And there are certain optimizations, things like that on top of it. That's one journey, okay, where we kind of give companies access using data residency and many things, because there are policies, okay, that where certain sensitive data cannot go outside the country and all. So that kind of opportunity is being utilized. And there is a solution, a cloud-based solution for that, which Core 42 is building. Another use case, most of it, though I cannot name the products, RAG is a very important component. Okay. And so I can tell you it is there. And, and we are still in that journey. So, what to say, recently we actually shipped the JICE chat mobile application. Okay. So it is there, you can use it and everything. So that's something we shipped.
This
Okay,
is
that's just
something like OpenAI app, which I can chat and ask
yes,
questions on my phone,
yes,
but in
yes,
Arabic also.
in
That's cool.
Arabic. Okay, so that is already there. It has certain internet RAG based things also in it, and it's still being improved. So one version is shipped, another version will come out on an enterprise level. It's still in the pipeline. But is there anything specific, Mahesh, you would like to understand on this,
No, I think this.
which I
I
can
think the question
answer?
is for another Mahesh. I think this
Yeah,
question is for
Mahesh.
another Mahesh. But I am
Yeah,
curious
whoever
in
asked the
one part,
question, that Mahesh.
because you threw it, Mahesh, openly. So I will ask one point, but I just want to add one point to this. Is I think this trend is going to continue, which is every country, every language, every region, every state inside a country would like to have their own model and will have their own app which governs by that state laws. So if you talk about California, California governs data very differently than Texas governs their data policies. And right now everybody's cutting like this cake all over, but eventually you will see that you will have to customize it across different states, different audience, different industry sectors. And that's where the tooling doesn't exist today as it's supposed to be. And the second part is like understanding these narrow use cases and building for them would be a lot of moat or lead that people can think. Especially if you are in US, you don't think a lot about these, but I would highly recommend you to think on like what Rashmi just brought in, which was like really insightful. I should think on that also. But question to Mahesh. Go back,
Thank
Mahesh, all
thank
yours.
thank you, guys. Personally, I mean, this is very insightful. Getting a real life examples and understanding of how LLMs are being productionalized at the enterprise scale. So thank you for this session. Second is what you just Mahesh talked about. It piqued my interest. Like, I can imagine social media companies, big giants, tuning or shaping the AI, the LLM landscape. But it's quite interesting where you put in the perspective about probably nation states kind of like leading the way of putting guardrails, security, and the policies in place. So I think it's probably a discussion for another day. But going back to Rashmi, for what you said, um, the picture that I get is essentially it's the company or this initiative is more in terms of on the lines of bringing like a non-profit uh, you know idea about how we can build a particular use case around or use cases around Arabic. But I'm still not fully understood like what are the revenue generating use cases around this, because I'm a bit to put my perspective in place. I believe Gen AI is still relatively new. Companies are still figuring out how to use it beyond your co-pilot experiences, more in terms of adding to the bottom line for revenue bottom lines. So my question is more towards that, like, do we have any specific use cases in Rashmi's company or even otherwise where LLMs are being used to add to the revenue bottom line?
Yeah, so I think I can give you like two which are like killer apps in production today. One is support. So support is a hard job. Support everybody needs to do. If you have a product, you need to do support of that product. Support generally requires you to look at internal signals, how the customer is working inside, like what you know about this customer, what kind of this customer is, what their profile is, how we have interacted with them before, and also a lot of documentation that your company or your product has. And agents that we get, most of the support function is today outsourced in big, medium, or even small companies. That function, training those people, they don't do a really great job of providing support. You think of support as CEO doing the support or engineer doing the support. Real experience of support is we hire somebody, we have training manuals for them, and they do support at a very minimum cost. So we have tried, like, that's the current state of support. Add Gen AI to that support experience. You have an agent which have learned from last all the cases solved by experts. It has access to all the documentation, and it has access through tools to all your specific information, and that is going to prod now. And my personal experience is it can like basic, just take all the doc, put them in a rag, add common tools like API access of three top API access that people need, and release it. And I've seen people go 50 to 60% reduction in their workloads of support. So that's a real killer use case where people are finding ROI. And it's like something that people want to talk to AI. They don't want to go to human, because human makes them wait 6 minutes to answer a simple question. AI can just return in like 5 seconds or less. And AI, you can ask more, you can learn more, takes you on, explains you why it thinks that, because it provides you sources, you can do that discovery, but also gives you a very quick one. So that's, I think, one. Second is, uh, you are seeing more and more, uh, looking at like how you manage knowledge inside your company or outside your company. So think about like Thomson Reuters of the world, and also think about inside enterprise, how you ask internal questions. So every enterprise is looking and saying, I can dump all my questions. And if anybody is looking for information, internal search, which never actually worked, first time started working with GenAI. So you can search the world information on Google. That works. But if you join a company and you are looking for information in your team, in your project, in your company, it doesn't work. But if you look at the new co-pilot experiences, or these companies are building their own, that is like at least 50, 60% of the companies which are taking it are showing continuous improvement on time saved and money saved inside the company. And they're not doing anything new, it already exists. They are putting their data in one place, doing RAG, and opening or empowering their current chatbots, and the users are coming back. So these search system existed before, but nobody used them. uh, Garima can talk about how easy it was to search the Microsoft source.
Thank you, Mahesh. I think this is pretty comprehensive. I see there are a bunch of other questions also. So
Yeah,
I'll
he was
just,
like, like, just don't go too far.
I know, yeah, there are very curious about some of the answers on the other questions. So I just would like to pivot. Thank you.
Sounds good.
So I'm
Mm.
gonna pull up Janavi, like, because she has been waiting for a while. Do you want to ask your questions? Can you give an example of a project? Is it like a small Gen AI app you create for free? Like, Janavi, is it a questions more for Rashmi, I think, or?
Yeah, I think questions for anyone who's in this space. Essentially, I am not, and I'm actively looking to get into the space. And when he said about, like, projects and to show that you worked on it, what kind of projects are we looking at? Is it like some basic apps that you create for free and for fun, or does it have to also tie it with what the enterprise is actually doing, so you're showing that you can do it even before you go in there? Just trying to get a sense of what those projects really mean.
Yeah, Janvi, that's a very good question. I will take that. See, So because I offered projects, so I think start with like creating your GPTs and creating something that you are working, and creating a co-pilot or something that can replace your function. So that's number one, because in that case you need not to rely on other people data to put evaluation. It's not about training, you need data. Now you need data or questions for evaluation. So having that is your start. That's where I would say that's your mini project, not a real project. Once you have that, also look for startups or the smaller areas or friends, family who actually are trying to solve the same problem at scale. For an example, people have gone and said, okay, I want to build a receipt, a receipt management system, or in future look at that as a CRM or an ERP system. The minimum version of that is inventory management for a Indian store. I was talking to a friend of mine who just said, I want to build an AI CRM, but obviously nobody will give me an AI CRM job, or I can't build a project on AI CRM because it requires a lot of infrastructure internally. So he built an inventory management system for an Indian store as a project, AI. And he built a scanner for them. He need to solve a lot of ground problems to get to that stage, but he built that project. He showed it how can you just take pictures and use AR on those pictures and actually ship that experience, where they can just now manage their inventory on a sheet as soon as things come in, and plan what they should order more, what should they order less, something that targets of the world have, but mom and pop shops don't. And he built and shipped it. That's the project. Janvi, did that answer your question? What
It
I
did,
meant?
it did. I just have one follow-up question on that. So I've had such experiences before when I was just joining an industry and I tried to do some internships. So one of the questions that I've had, like with these, like because you had this example, I just want to ask a question. How do you how do you convince that particular store that, hey, I'm going to build this, but probably there is no support because there is no company. So I'll build this for free for you. But how do you get to that stage? And it's not really an AI question, but I'm just trying to ask.
Yeah, I think
Like,
that's your passion and perseverance, right? And that's what it takes, right? If you are either you offer code or you offer skills that persuade people. So that's like product. That's where your product chops comes in. You need to be awesome with people. You need to make sure you understand their use cases and you're willing to go on ground and hear a lot. Like most of the people will say no, and that's what happened to my friend also. Hopefully, we can get him and he can talk more about that.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks,
You
Janvi.
can do it hypothetically. I mean, most of the stores won't accept it, but you can actually, that's what many people do. You can take their use case and then just put a hypothetical project and have working components.
Got it.
Yeah, I think what happens is this is like first time you go to, they will tell you the use case, but they won't take it. The next one you go to will see it like working, and they will give you a chance, and the third one will pay for it. So it's like an iterative process that you need to go through. The most first ones won't give you the problem. The second ones will give you a chance to iterate on that problem to make it finish. And once you have these two done, the third one will pay for it, because now you can start saying, here is 15 days demo. I will take it if you don't pay. And
Got
first
it.
two doesn't care about that, but third one will care about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because the product would have been refined by then also.
Yeah. But that's a project, Janvi. Like that's the kind of project. When I say project, that's what I mean. It's not like GPTs that people make and that's like, and I love GPTs, but make it for something that you are an expert on. So people like you will, people like you will use it, and you can give it to people who are in your industry. So if you're a teacher, at least 10 more teachers are using it, and
Got
they
it.
are telling 10 more. That's an awesome project within GPTs also. But if you are like, let's say I work in like ML and AI, I'm a product manager, but I want to build GPTs for doctors, which helps them find something which only doctors do. Best of luck to me.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Rashmi, one question for you. Shilan, go ahead. Do you want to?
Archon asked a really good question actually for Rashmi. Did you had prior AI experience non-Gen AI before interviewing for AI PM roles? And if yes, then was it asked in your interview? I think it's like the question is like, hey, how do you pitch yourself to get in? That's part of it. Yeah.
Maybe Shilan can answer half of it also.
What, say that?
Well,
For
I'm
me?
saying maybe you can take half of this question also. But
Sure.
go first.
Yeah. I think the important thing, right, because like I also work in AI before, you need to tell people, pitch in 3 minutes, find a way, okay, to sell them, this domain area. And then what is the AI expertise? So in my case, right, it's like the game model, like diffusion. People love me call content creation. And the roles I'm usually like reach out for are martech, ad tech, like creative tools, right? So you need to be able to match the job descriptions, and like find out what are the 3 most important job descriptions, and then align what specifically you do to that in that 3 minutes pitch. AI or not, like whether your role was AI before or not AI before, you have to be able to make that pitch so that they are sold. You are, oh, okay, these are one of the 10 people that can be within my consideration.
Yeah.
Rashmi, you want to take on that question too?
Yeah, so of course, I did have AI experience. It was accidental. I didn't plan for. Okay, that was my, the company which helped me transition into product management. Then during COVID, right? That's where I actually started getting into core AI because during COVID, many countries needed dashboards. So look, see, one thing even, that connects to Mahesh's question also, right? When you ask for use cases, especially B2B, right? At this point in LLM, the people or anchor clients who are willing to test your use cases for their data, because firstly, they should have this much data. Secondly, they should be matured in their data pipeline. So those are very serious customers, right? So such customers, it's very hard to disclose their use cases until year 1 or 2 once it's mainstream. So that's the biggest problem in LLM, and that's why you're not seeing mainstream so many use cases. There are, but it's now anchor client specific, and it's only for particular people can actually afford it, who really wants for their thing. So that's one thing. So here it was actually the health department within the region who needed it, and I was very lucky to be a part of it. I was a junior PM there. Okay, where I did a small portion of the chatbot with all these graphs and all. That time it was only NLP based, rule based chatbot. So not even close to LLM. It was rule based. Half the time it used to answer some gibberish. So we used to keep it questions and just get it done. Okay. And that kind of helped me connect. Okay. So definitely, did I use it for my advantage? Yes, I used it for my advantage during the interview. Okay. But if this was not there, what I would have done is I would have taken my current company's use case as a product manager. Anyway, even there, look, even if we are not in AI field, like for example, I was in medical, right? For me, my next step in the product was getting a, symptom checker. Now, symptom checkers are basically certain things. It's not the fullest LLM, but it has certain, classifications and things like that, right? So I will use that use case and still pitch myself. So that's what I would do. So it's not a LLM thing, but there are other kinds of AI also, right? So within your current product, find one extra step, have it in your profile and pitch it. That's my recommendation.
I don't know. You can answer this one. Sham is asking, what kind of
Which one?
pushback you get from your engineering team? What kind of pushback you get from your engineering team and leadership when leading Gen AI products?
Okay, maybe I'm too early in the journey. I have not faced a big pushback yet, except
Okay,
for
let
some
me take on this.
timelines.
Let me
So
take
yeah,
on this because I
yes,
know there's a lot of things, right? Especially
yeah,
most people don't want to talk about it. So a couple of things that you will get pushback on is uh, either you will get pushback on the value proposition. People will say, this is how it works today. What are you adding? It's not very different. So some TLs will challenge you, saying that, yes, this is a Gen AI use case. Yes, you are summarizing, but we already have summary here. Look at this. I already have this way of doing summary. Like what Rashmi was mentioning, if they have a chatbot, they have a dialogue flow based chatbot, and they will challenge you that dialogue flow works. It has knowledge of 10 years of their learnings, and they will they have created this all beautifully false loops and it works. Why we need this thing? And by the way, they will bring you like three edge cases where it doesn't work and throw it at your face or in your meeting saying, hey, I tried it, by the way, it doesn't work. And by the way, I read it on Reddit, it doesn't work for OpenAI also. So then you're like, okay, what should I do? Maybe some other session I should tell you how to handle those. So that's one. Leadership pushbacks are mostly in the phase that Rashmi was talking about, which is real. Most of the times in the products, you can actually estimate how much money you're going to make, what the product looks like, how you're going to build it, and write a clean PRD, get a technical design frozen, and then for 6 months to a year, people work and you ship this thing. This is enterprise B2B solutions. In AI, what you are going to do is you're going to write a hypothesis, a concept paper, which you don't know a lot about, a use case, or a lump sum rough way of estimating is it helping or not. And then you will throw it out to engineering. Engineering will try to stitch together, taking a lot of things outside, open source, in source, create a lump sum thing, and then you're going to try together. And in like 3 months you have 7 or 8 of these projects going because people will keep coming with ideas, and you are also very passionate, so you will also have a lot of ideas. And now you have around 10 projects going. Three people are working on these. You have 30 people, 10 projects, and leadership is just asking you, hey man, can you tell us weekly, bi-weekly, what is your learning? I understand this GenAI is a long journey, but what are your learnings? Are you throwing the darts in the dark, or these darts are going in some direction and you are saying these are sticking ones and these are not sticking ones? So that communication, how to communicate your impact and learnings and bringing everybody along is a real challenge for leadership. And on developers, one challenge is they're super smart, they challenge you more than they should rather than support you. So that's one challenge. The second challenge you will get is people don't know. So when they don't know, they give you timelines which are completely not what you should take. So they will say, give me 3 months, give me like 3 weeks to bring you a basic thing, like what you would have built. But I will give you the last advice on that one. Don't try to be over smart because you have done this course and you have know how this can be done quickly. Don't do that. Please support your engineering team. Give them the examples, point them to the notebooks that you have gone through, bring them along rather than challenging their timelines. And be acceptable that the world will might move at a very different pace in AI. If your company is new and you are new, you might have to slow down a little bit to gain momentum later on. But if you can help them, please be use your technical skills to help rather than challenge. That's my tip there, Sham. With that note,
Thank you.
last thing I want to do to Rashmi is just say a big thanks and making this possible. This is the first time we tried the format. I'm open for the feedback, but I loved it. I think we need to do more of these, and Rashmi should continue to come back. Rashmi, I pasted Rashmi's LinkedIn, and Rashmi also uh, works or has this awesome community that she builds or have been driving. Maybe you want to talk or just leave people with that note, Rashmi, and
Just
we'll see you again.
I would just take one more minute because we already took 10 extra minutes. So I'm also the co-founder of Product Me, Product Me, what we call. It's a community based in the MENA region. Okay, it's for product managers. It started like a coffee meetup where three of my friends were sitting because we were wanting to find jobs as product managers. And then we started meeting other product managers over coffee in a coffee table. And then from there, we started having this monthly meetups. Then we started having events and all. It has been 2 years. So from 15 people, we grew up to nearly almost 1,000 people today. And I hold monthly events in the region here. So if you're flying to Dubai, do ping me. Okay, other than that, also, even we are experimenting a lot with our community. I hope to have Mahesh come one day and address my community members also. So thanks, Mahesh, for reminding me. Yes, that's my alter ego. Thank you so much, team.
Thank you. Thank you, Shilan. Shilan, any last closing words from your side?
I think this is a great, this is a great session. And also Rashmi brought up like a point is like part of this process is also networking. It's very important. So don't overlook that. Feel free to ping Rashmi. She has some like amazing like network skills that you guys can like all learn from. And finally, I want to close out by saying we do have like people reach out about us about questions on the cohort. So I think some you might prefer to like ask privately because it's more like personalized. Feel free to use like Mahesh or me as your AI. We will answer you. The best way to reach us is on LinkedIn. So
with that note, again, thank you. We'll see you again next Saturday with more awesome content. Maybe we'll talk about EU AI Act or something cool. We'll share more on Wednesday. Till then, stay alive.
bye.
Thank you.